You're listening to Infinite TBR, the podcast where we try not to buy more books. I'm Smack.
And I'm Gabi. Spoiler alert, we're going to avoid major spoilers, and when we can, warn when we're going to discuss a particular book in detail so you can avoid that part of the episode. You can also check the show notes for time-stamped flags identifying potential spoilers. This episode, what we ended up going with is we're going to start with what we're currently reading and what our thoughts are so far. You want to start us off, Smack?
I am reading several books at once because I started one and it's super depressing, and so I started two others.
Which are less depressing?
Which are less depressing, but I was like... Okay, so the depressing book is The Book of the Unnamed Midwife by Meg Elison, and it's post-apocalyptic. It's probably the first post-apocalyptic book I've read in, I want to say since Hunger Games, but that's not true. It's just been a number of years.
The only one I can think of off the top of my head is, well...
What?
Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom.
That's not post-apocalyptic.
Not post-apocalyptic, but post-plague. There's a lot of plague nonsense going on.
Okay, but like their entire civilization didn't necessarily collapse.
Yes, and then the other one is Pretty Monsters, that one surfer short story.
Yeah, the surfer one. I forgot about that.
You warned me not to read, and then I was like, I'll be fine. And then I was like, When
I read Pretty Monsters, I was just jamming through the whole book until I got to the I don't remember what it's called, the Silver Surfer or something. No.
Yeah, something.
Silver Surfer is a Marvel person.
Is it really?
Yeah, like a Fantastic Four villain or something. Anyway, it's The Book of the Unnamed Midwife is both really good, and it won. What did it win? It won the Philip K. Dick Award in 2014, which is a big deal.
Bravo.
I know, and my mother doesn't remember reading it, but she read it during the pandemic, at the very beginning of the pandemic, and I was like, how are you doing? Like, are you handling it? Is it, like, not super depressing? And she's like, no, it's fine. It's really well written, and the depressing parts are not about the plague, which... Okay, now she says she's never read it and has no memory of it.
Suspicious.
But also she didn't write it down where she usually writes down her books that she's read. But, like, we've moved beyond the plague, but the first, like, 35-ish pages were really rough. It was San Francisco, and you get a couple of, like, journal entries, and then the main character wakes up in, like, the UCSF ICU, and she's the only person alive in the entire hospital. She goes out and walks through San Francisco, and there's no one there, and there are, like, the remains of car crashes with bodies still in the vehicles and stuff, and, like...
Holy crap.
And she goes home, and she tries to take a shower, because she's covered in, like, all her, like, I was really deathly ill bodily fluids.
Sure, yep.
And
as you are.
The water comes out for about 10 seconds, and it's ice cold, and then it quits.
Yikes.
And so she goes to the pantry, and everything's moldy. She finds some crackers. She eats the crackers. She goes to bed, and she wakes up to a guy trying to rape her.
Oh my god.
And then she kills him with a knife that she finds in her bedside table.
Okay, we're looking up already.
Yeah. and like it so
you started two other books.
Yeah, so I read that and I was like...
And this is the first of a trilogy, right?
I don't think they're related.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like the same world.
So, okay.
And the titles are all the same, but like...
Right.
I don't think they're related. So, yeah.
So what if you just circled back around?
I'm reading it. I haven't given up. I'm like 103 pages in now.
Life is short.
Life is short.
And you own it, so you can really come back to it.
I own it, so
time.
I already paid for it.
Yeah, but I mean, you could circle back.
If I stop reading it now, though, I won't go back to it. Like it's like if I don't power through. Also, it's on 2 different reading lists. It's for the Mysterious Galaxy Bingo and for Sirens.
I was about to say 5 years from now it'll still be on reading lists, but I guess those specific reading lists will only apply for the next few months.
Time
sensitive,
bracketed. So, I am 100 pages in. It did get better, sort of. It got better for the main character. But like it's still really rough. Everyone in the world is trying to go south because there are these rumors that like in Southern California and Mexico the virus didn't hit as bad. But there's also like this radio transmission going that claims to be from the government of Costa Rica, and they're like, the plague didn't hit us so hard. Women are safe in Costa Rica. Come down and be the mothers of the next generation. And she's in like Oregon and Washington, and she's going, there's no way that anything being broadcast from Costa Rica will make it up this far, this clear. So who is trying to lure all these women down south? And like,
horrible.
It's really rough. Like all the women.
She gonna go F them up?
She's going north, and she's effed up a couple of guys.
Oh, okay.
There was this one scene where she just shot 6 guys in a bar.
Cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Way to be.
Mm-hmm. But like there are women on like leashed and chained, and everybody's been assaulted multiple times.
So not a Gabi book is what you're saying.
No, you would not like this at all.
Good to know.
And it's the worst part, not the worst part, it's really well written.
That does sound like the worst part.
It's
trap is
interesting, and I don't hate it when she's just doing the survival stuff.
Right.
She's been by herself for a while. For a while she traveled with like this middle-aged woman who'd had a hysterectomy and was therefore not in danger of getting pregnant and dying. Because if you get pregnant,
right,
your baby will definitely not survive, and you will probably not survive.
Oh, okay.
They're figuring
even if you have an unnamed midwife taking care of you?
She hasn't attended any. Well, no, that's not true. There were a lot of people who died in the hospital before she got sick. But they're saying that the mortality rate is 98% for men and like 99.5 for women or something. So like everybody's dead. Wow. And like we've come to the point in the story where like you go into houses and there are bodies, but it's not such a big deal because they don't smell anymore. And like it's the second winter and she's in Utah and she's pretty sure she's the only person in town, but there are some signs that people are either nearby or have been nearby, and it makes her super paranoid, and it makes me really freaking nervous.
I'm so stressed just listening.
It's such a stressful book, but it's not a long one. It's
right.
290 pages. I'm already a third of the way through.
But you're a third of the way through and already this stress. Like, it can't get less stressful in the second half of the book.
I'm not even in the second half.
I know.
So, I don't know how much... See, if I do what you do and I make it to the halfway mark, there's no way I'll be able to quit.
You don't think so? Well,
no, things are gonna ramp up real fast. I suspect there might be a
ramp up from up.
I know. To 11 from 10.5.
Sure.
So I don't think I'll regret reading it all the way through. It'll just be really difficult.
Right. So tell us about your other 2 books.
Okay, so the other 2 books.
Tell us about the happy book.
Yeah. I am about 40 pages into One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, who also wrote, what's it called?
Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Yes, Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is really cute, and I own it, and I haven't read it yet.
Same. Hey, that's one we both own.
We could do it! Okay, that's good to know.
Yep.
But like this one is a 23, 25-year-old, mid-20s girl from kind of a messed up background, I suspect. It sounds like her mom is like obsessed with an open case. Somebody either disappeared or died, and her mom can't accept it. So she's moved. This girl, August, has moved to New York, is starting school. She found a room with 3 other roommates, and they're all kind of weird.
The only way to do New York.
I know. It really is. So, but like she's paying like $700 for a room, which is like really cheap.
Is that just her share?
Just her room, yeah, $700. Which, I mean,
for a 2-bedroom?
I wasn't in a great neighborhood, and I did not pay that much.
Right.
So
What kind of neighborhood are they?
It seems like an Oak. It sounds. I can't remember. It might be Bushwick, but like it's nicer where I stayed. I mean, it's nicer than where I stayed.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, rental rates aside,
near and dear to our hearts is the subject of rental rates living in San Diego.
Yeah, but not as bad as it is in New York.
It's true. That's why I was like, that's how much you'd pay for a 2-bedroom here.
$700 for 2 bedrooms?
No, per
room.
person.
Per person, yeah.
So it seems too low.
Yeah, it seems really low. Anyway. She's starting school. She's got a job at this pancake house that I suspect
IHOP without the copyright?
Like a local, not IHOP, without, like a local pancake place that might be magical. I'm not sure. They keep saying stuff like, oh, it's just so magical in there. And I think it might actually be literal at some point. So there's definitely time travel, sort of. She was on the Q train, and this chick, like, gave her a scarf because she'd had, like, a really terrible fall, and she got coffee all over herself. Aww. And so they flirted, and the girl handed her a scarf, and she's like, I can't keep this. And then... And they flirted some more, and then the lights flickered, and they turned back on, and the girl was gone. The middle of the train. Ah! So she's
Where did she go?
The 70s, apparently.
I'm really excited for this one. I was already excited for
so
this.
that one's gonna be a lot easier than the
Sure.
book of Unnamed Midwife.
Slightly different vibes.
So what else am I reading? The other one I'm reading is The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson.
That must be for the
Yes.
bingo, for
Yes,
a blank of blank and blank.
Yes. The Mysterious Galaxy bingo sheet has one of the spots is the title of the book has to be a blank of blank and blank. So, The Girl.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Article blank.
Yeah. So that one, it's got a weird premise, and I've been meaning to read it literally for almost a decade since it came out. I just haven't gotten around to it. But the premise is that the main character, like every generation, there's like a quote-unquote chosen one. And you can tell they're the chosen one because they have a living gemstone in their navel.
Biologist in me was immediately like, what makes it living? Is it made of organic carbon molecules?
And apparently, if you miss your shot to be the chosen one, it turns into a regular cold gemstone. So that's how you know.
So everyone else has normal cold gemstones?
Nope. Nobody gets a
okay.
gemstone,
So this is just
but the chosen one.
You done effed up and your gem dies.
Yep. And then it's stuck in you, I guess. I don't actually know yet.
Bummer.
But she's a princess.
How embarrassing for you.
She's the young... I know. She lives in fear of that day happening. The main
so
character...
much pressure.
It starts when she gets married off to the king of this, like,
gross.
super rich neighboring nation. And it's not totally clear how much trouble his kingdom is in, but like they have like raiders on one side and invaders threatening on another side type thing. And
I mean, if a chosen one is involved, seems like things must be pretty bad. She's chosen for something,
right? But nobody knows what she's chosen for, and she sees herself as very undesirable, except for the fact that she's a chosen one and a princess. Aww. So she's second born, she's chubby, she doesn't get along with her sister. She thinks her sister hates her, but it's actually one of those relationships where they've been like so mean to each other for so many years that neither of them know how to like function and be like normal people to each other. Sadness. I know. I'm sure they'll resolve that by the end of the trilogy. But it starts off kind of slow. It starts off with this like, well, it opens with her putting on a wedding gown that doesn't fit and then like ripping it, which is always A+ material. And then it did some other like stylistic things I'm really not crazy about at the very beginning, where like she gets married and they go back to their bedroom, and then she has a thought and it's first person, so she explains what she's thinking, and then she looks at the bed and and then new paragraph, italics, the bed, ... And I was like, Jesus Christ. Is this really necessary? And then I don't even remember what it was, but like there was another like the bed, the door, the husband type thing, and it took so long to get past that. Like it was the beginning of chapter 2, and I was just not having it. But I did get past it, and
so you are
it's getting
with
really
it?
good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like they were in like this carriage convoy, and they left the palace with her and her husband in the same like fancy ass carriage, and then they stop right outside of the palace, and he sends her to like a different carriage because it's not safe for them to be like in like one target.
Oh, so we start getting the
exciting stuff.
This is how bad things really are.
Yep, and they go through like a mountain jungle, and they're attacked by, not savages, but like basically, which is,
Yeah.
But like she comports herself very well. The carriage gets set on fire, and so, like there are arrows flying and no, just the one she's in with her nurse and her like governess.
So she's the one who lost this roulette.
Yes.
Bummer.
Yeah. So, but like there are arrows flying, and she's like, okay, we have to get down to the floor. And then the carriage is set on fire, and she's like, okay, we have to go through the trapdoor in the bottom of the carriage. And I was like, all right. Pulling it together. They fall down to the ground. Her nurse breaks her leg, like really badly. So
how
like
high off the ground is
I
this
have no idea. I think she like wrenched it on something.
Okay.
But like the dimensions are a little confusing. Whatever. You just go with it. It's very exciting.
I'll read those books.
And so like she and her governess like drag her nurse to safety, and they're hiding out trying to like assess like what's going on, and like if they have to run into the jungle or whatever because everybody else dies. But they don't. She saves her husband from like being stabbed in the face.
Good for her.
No, he like freezes, and she like grabs a knife, and she runs up, she's like, stabs the
So both
attacker.
of their carriages did get...
Yes. It was like a
hers
whole...
was set on fire.
Yes.
And they were separate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
got it.
That's as far as I've gotten, but like there have been no more the bed ... So like
turning into a very fun drinking game.
Oh my god, that would be awful. The worst drinking game ever. So that's what I'm reading.
Great.
What are you reading, Gabi?
Well, as you know, Smack, I am only capable of reading one book at a time. So I am currently reading Burning Roses by S.L. Huang, and it's a novella, and I've read 5 pages of it. So what has happened is Rosa's sitting on the porch, and she's reflecting upon her life. The cool thing I noticed just from the summary is that I guess they're both middle-aged.
Yeah,
which is a very unusual setup, at least in the books that we tend to pick up.
It's definitely
so she's, tired and over life, and she's, like, reflecting on, like, the bigotry of her younger self. And it's like, and has to like check herself at like in the first few pages, like because she has like some sort of like immediate prejudice thought about some group of like animal transforming humans. I guess I haven't really gotten into who this group of people are, but she like has to check herself, like consciously check herself, and she reflects about like how she had to put up these walls to like make sure that that prejudice and bigotry didn't like infect these other people she knew. And I just thought that was a really cool, different perspective and way, because usually when you're reading a protagonist, like
they're younger and they still have yet to learn,
yes,
like that they shouldn't be a bigot.
Yes, and they're usually like, I don't want to say perfect, but the ways in which they're imperfect almost never have to do with like being a bigot. It's usually they're confronting bigotry or prejudice. So that was very different. And then
I really liked that one. I read it back in May, I think.
June, relatively recently.
Early June.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. It's sort of endemic to books with middle-aged protagonists in that they have shit that they messed up earlier in their lives, and a lot of that comes back to haunt them in whatever book you're currently reading. And both of the main characters in Burning Roses have fucked up.
Oops.
Yeah.
So I'm 5 pages into that. A girl just showed. Oh, and then like the other character, Huang, who hopefully I pronounced that anywhere near correctly. She busts out of the house and she has a very like loud personality. Except when she's hunting, apparently she's very quiet.
Yes.
But they
she's
just
an
like
excellent hunter.
They clearly have like very interesting personalities to be coexisting. So I still don't know like their whole backstory. I don't know how they got here. There's some suggestion of a mysterious wife who Rosa might have killed. I don't know, named May. She's like, May, and said something about kissing her and then killing her, and I was like, bummer.
There was no...
But there's been no explanation at all yet.
I can't even think of the word wife-icide. Like regicide, but...
Oh.
So no wives were murdered by their partners.
Okay.
In that story.
So yeah, it's a little, but like you can tell like that's what they want you to think early on, and then I'm sure at some point it'll.
I don't even remember that part.
It was like page 2.
Well.
And then a girl showed up, and they were like, "Where?" And the girl was like, "There, in that direction," and that's literally all that's happening. So I don't even know what's happening yet. But they ran off to go deal with whatever.
A monster.
Oh, I think it's 2 monsters, actually. I think the very last thing I read is that Huang was like, it's 2. And Rosa was like, how does she always know how many monsters it is? Anyway,
You'll like it.
It seems like it'll be fun.
It's both thoughtful and like the plot moves along very well.
It just seems.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm reading right now.
What are you going to read after that one?
After that, what am I going to read after that? I think next is the Shadow and the Fox.
Oh, Shadow and the Fox.
I'll either do that. I guess I don't have to. So I bumped that up because I was planning to read it on vacation. So I got the library books. So I can bring them and not wreck your copies.
The vacation you just finished?
Yes.
Or the vacation you're going to
No,
start?
the vacation I just finished. But I ended up pretty much not reading the whole time I was on vacation.
It was
so I never read
vacation.
them. It was not work, but yeah. But yes, thank you. And so I didn't read. So never got around to reading the Shadow and the Fox trilogy. And now I'm home again, and I do have another vacation coming up, but also I now am sitting on the Rainbow Rowell trilogy, the Carry On and Wayward Son. The 3rd one just came out. Like, I got back from vacation and like immediately picked it up. Almost like on the way home, driving 6 hours. I almost just swung by Mysterious Galaxy to pick up the copy, except I was like, that's crazy. You're not going to be reading this anytime soon.
Explain to our dear listeners why this is such a big deal.
So, this is a big deal. So, I read Carry On, which is the first one. It's pretty much a standalone.
By Rainbow
Rowell. Years ago now.
When it came out, basically.
Because I think I grabbed it right off the shelf, and it was like shiny and new, and it was cover bait. Like, I saw a dragon on the cover, and it was very colorful, and I was like, yes. And it's like so anyone who's read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, which I have not, so I didn't even have that context going in, but apparently Fangirl is about a high school girl who writes fan fiction for the Simon Snow series, which is basically Harry Potter.
Right.
And then Rainbow Rowell went ahead and published a book in the universe of Simon Snow.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like, and I think it was going to be a standalone, and then it must have been just like insanely popular. Maybe Rainbow Rowell just gets to do whatever she wants because she's so big, and was just like, I like writing in this universe, and I will continue to do so until someone forces me to stop. So the standalone was great. It kind of took a surprisingly dark turn near the end. Like I thought it was like a lighthearted Harry Potter parody for the most part at the beginning, and then like obviously like a Harry Potter Draco Malfoy shipper is behind this. But Draco Malfoy in this case is Baz, and he's like, he got bitten by a vampire.
Oh shit.
And so, so he has that whole drama going on, and then like Simon's like a chosen one hero, and has like that whole, and then like he has his friend, whose name I'm completely blanking on, who's basically Hermione, and she, like, everyone's just kind of, it's a fun, like, cast of characters. You're pretty much just alternating between Simon and Baz. But, and then they have this huge rivalry, and then, like, somewhere in the book they figure out that, like, neither of them's actually the enemy. There's someone else who's the enemy, and we all need to get along, and maybe more than that, to finally, like, address this big, bad, evil thing. And then, like, there's this, like, underlying mystery thing. Like, it, like, started very clearly Harry Potter parody, and then took a wild, wild turn, in my opinion.
That sounds like fun.
It was. I thought it was a lot of fun. And then the ending was, like, kind of bittersweet, like, happy, and, like, it finished, and it was, like, done, and, like, and it was sweet, but, like, there was, like, it wasn't as, like, not as, like, cozy as I expected a Harry Potter parody to end. Like, you don't get the impression that's where it's gonna head from the beginning. But then I was like, wow, and then I was, like, so emotional about finish, like, I was crying for, like, the last, like, 50 pages of that book. And then I heard that there was gonna be a second one, got really excited about it, and I bought it the last time I was in Indiana, same destination for my vacation, bought it in Indiana at a independent bookstore in Bloomington, Indiana, like, on the release date, and then read it there. And it was funny because the premise of the second one is like a road trip across America, and we drove to and from Indiana. So I was like, this is great, road trip vibes. It's going to be so fun to see what they went after Carry On. They're like college years now. What are they going to do? And then the second one ended on a really insane... So the second one's basically all of them working through relationship issues, and like trying to figure out who they are now that they've moved on from like the school. And so there's a lot of tension while they figure out their own identities, and a lot of like figuring out their relationship, and they are terrible at communicating because of course they are. And then it ends in this like horrible cliffhanger. And I was still crying for like the last 100 pages this time because of everyone's stupid crap, and I was just so upset. And then I was just left there.
For years.
And then I was like, how long am I going to have to sit with this? So then I made my resolution, which you know very well, that I will never, ever, ever, ever read a book ever again without outside confirmation that it's safe to do so. Read the second of a trilogy unless the third is out and available, because I simply cannot do that again. But now the third one's out, so now I'm like, I need to sit down and read them, even though I know it's gonna be emotional.
Brace yourself.
Yes, it's gonna be a rough.
You're gonna need like a weekend of just
very long weekend
of like hot
so then
chocolate.
I'm like, maybe that should be my Hawaii trilogy that I bring with me. But also, how dumb is it to bring a paperback and 2 hardbacks?
Are you serious? No, you're gonna be gone like a week and a half?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even do that. And I could read 3 books in a week.
But I can't just bring one! Anyway, so that's...
No, now I want to know what books you want to bring.
I don't know!
What are your options?
Well, so really it depends on how far I get in my reading
Shadow of the
list
Fox.
before. But it's basically Shadow of the Fox trilogy.
Okay.
Or Carry On trilogy. And I think they're both one paperback and 2 hardcover books. Or maybe I'll read all 6 before August 16th, and I can pick something else to bring with me.
Might I recommend?
You sure can try.
2 paperbacks.
Sounds insane.
I know.
Like, independent paperbacks?
A duology with feathered dragons.
Oh. Wow, did I not see where this was going to go?
So
not a bad idea.
Today I brought over 2 more books that I own and just finished reading for Gabi to borrow, and they're a duology.
Because I was running out of books to read.
You were totally going to run out. As evidenced by your struggle to decide what to read in 3 weeks? 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
3, something like that.
Something like
What's
that.
time?
Because I don't think you should read... The ending of the trilogy for Shadow of the Fox is sort of emotional. There's a lot that happens, and I think you should pick one series that's going to be really emotional. So either Shadow of the Fox or your carry-on books, or you could carry 2 paperbacks that are much lighter.
I can't carry your paperbacks, though. I cannot carry your paperbacks to Hawaii. If I wreck those...
I will survive. Those are...
Will I, though? The rest of our friendship will have the shadow hanging over.
They're paperbacks. I'll survive.
Did you already write your name in them?
I sure did.
Well,
Also,
should have waited
they
until I
are
was done
much
reading them.
lighter. Okay, the second book gets kind of dark, but like it ends excellently.
Okay, good.
So,
Good to know.
did I say what they are? First one is called Stealing Thunder. The second one is called Gifting Fire. They're both by Elena Boyden, and Stealing Thunder, apparently, it says in the beginning, is the first adult fantasy novel with a trans protagonist by a trans woman, published by one of the big publishing houses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't either. And it says that. And it's
kind of embarrassing
there are
for the
feathered dragons.
publisher houses.
I know. Feathered dragons. It's based off medieval India, I believe.
Exactly.
And the first one is, the premise is that the crown prince is actually a trans girl. She runs away,
Good
transitions, and then ends up falling in love with the prince of the rivaling nation. Yeah, it's great. It's great. And it's really, like, there are princes and princesses and dragons and geopolitics happening and stuff, and it's a big story, but it's actually quite a small story as well, because it focuses on her and what she wants, and she wants to be accepted for who she is, she wants to be safe, and she wants to fall in love with someone who's worthy of her, and it all happens. It's great. That is what you should be reading on vacation.
Okay. Glad we figured that out.
I am here to help.
You want to talk about what we recently finished? You got really excited about...
I got really excited about multiple things
Well,
recently.
that's true.
It's been a really good month for reading.
Yes. It helps when you read so many...
Well, like, some months
so
it's just, like,
quickly.
8 mediocre books or whatever.
Yes.
This month, like, there's a number to pick from. So the first one that I read was really good. I read both Stealing Thunder and Gifting Fire this month. The other one that I borrowed from you was The Wolf and the Woodsman.
Oh, yeah.
When you had me over here to cat sit, I came in,
Poor baby.
I locked the door behind me, I said hello to Marina, I put my stuff down, and then I dug out The Wolf and the Woodsman and sat down and started reading.
That was all I dreamed for you.
It was excellent, and I didn't get all the way through it before I had to go home, but that's okay. It was really good, and it's one of those kind of books that I would never, as a writer, be able to create. It's completely outside of my wheelhouse, even though it's secondary world fantasy based on, like, mythology. It's
wolves.
right?
Like all nearby.
Wolf girls, not even just wolves. They're wolf girls. It's this village of pagans where the girls wear wolf skins as hoods, and they do magic and stuff. It's awesome. And even though that is all so much of what I love, I would have never been able to write this book. It is incredibly well written, and it focused, like, I guess the author has, like, a master's in religious nationalism or ethno-nationalism.
Oh, yeah, I saw.
And it really shows. She makes this story that isn't told very often. There's the equivalent of Jewish people, of new Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Christianity is the hot new thing or whatever.
hot off the press.
Right, basically. And then there's paganism, which she explicitly says is paganism. And she just creates this interplay between all the various characters that are, they're all so deeply rooted in their beliefs. The main character is a pagan, but her dad is the Jewish equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Woodsman is the prince of the nation, and he's also the Christian equivalent. And it's very much a proselytizing religion, I guess. Like, he offers to convert her at one point, and yeah, it goes real well. And so, like, when they get into the city, then she meets her father and his people, and she starts to learn how to read. I can't remember what it's called. It's Hebrew,
right?
In this world,
yeah.
And then it turns out that these guys have their own kind of magic, and it's sort of similar to the pagan magic that she has grown up with, but it's also sort of similar to the Christian magic. But there are really strong ties between the Christian magic and the pagan magic, and it really, like, by the end, the reader can tell it really is just a question of perspective. Like, everybody believes that magic comes from their gods, and everybody's gods are different, but, like, it's the same magic.
Interesting.
It's really good, and it's just so smart and exciting and well written.
So you're gonna buy it?
It's $30.
I know it is.
I read it. Maybe when it comes out in paperback, I'll read it.
That's right. Yeah, you can afford to wait now.
I sure can.
Incredible.
So I definitely recommend that one.
Okay.
And it was like 400 something pages, and like, I know I told you this already, but basically, like, when I had 100 pages left, and it was like 7 p.m. and I was looking at it, it was like Sunday night or something, so I wasn't sleep deprived yet. So I was like, should I stay up?
And then we became sleep deprived.
I stayed up. I finished. I 100% just threw in the towel early, just accepted I wasn't going to sleep a whole lot. It was worth it. It was so good.
Yay.
And it really is like serious enemies to lovers, which is a nice trope when it's done well, and it is done well.
It's one of my favorite tropes.
Is it?
It's done. Yeah, weirdly.
It's not one of my favorite tropes, but like, I
Depends
really enjoyed this.
How the enemies are enemies. Because if it's like...
They're religious enemies.
I mean, that's usually rough.
It was rough, but it was really good.
But like, I was gonna say, like, Nina and Matthias, I was gonna say, is like...
That was good.
That was good, except, like, I remember back when we met Matthias, and I was like, why are we even putting up with this fool?
You hated him at the beginning. I forgot about that. You hated him.
Well, he was basically, like...
Sort of a Nazi?
Basically a Nazi.
Yeah,
and I was like,
not a great...
this is who we're...
Yeah.
But he grew so much.
Also, I love Nina so much that I would,
yes, yeah.
I'll follow her anywhere.
I guess I'll trust your judgment, Nina, but...
This is Six of Crows we're talking about by Leigh Bardugo.
And Crooked Kingdom.
It's a duology.
Duology.
It's a heist duology.
Heist. So many heists. Sure are a lot of heists in them books. We went off on Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom for a bit, but we decided to save that piece for a later episode. So we're picking this back up, and I'm going to talk about this instead.
Okay.
So I recently finished Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I actually just finished, like this morning, Shah and the Tree of Wishes by Roshani Chokshi. It's the third of her Shah Quintet.
Is it a quintet?
It's going to be 5, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
But the 5th one isn't out yet.
Bummer.
So we're spacing them out.
Well, there's only one more to go, right?
Yes. So the 5th one comes out April 2022. And then I read the second one, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months ago, and I was trying to do like 3 or 4 months between them.
And
this one got moved up a little bit. The third one got moved because my mom's reading them too.
Oh, that's nice.
So she got the audiobook for our trip, our vacation. So
your road trip to
our
Indiana.
road trip to Indiana. So so we listened to most of it on the way home.
Okay.
And then I just finished it this morning, the rest of the last 100 pages, not even the last 100 pages, like the last 70 pages. And then the fourth one is, I think, Shah and the City of Gold, I think. And then the fifth one's going to be The Nectar of Immortality, which is a great name for a final. And so Shah, it's the Pandava Quintet. Pandava, I think, is how they said it in the audiobook, so I assume that's right. And the premise is that this middle schooler, I think she starts 12. She starts 12-year-old in the first one. And so this is a Rick Riordan Presents, so if you've read Percy Jackson, the Olympians, that's all like Greek mythology. This is, I want to say that, but with Hindu mythology, but that's very reductive.
Yeah.
But like in the sense that there is, the main character is a demi goddess.
The reincarnation of like a warrior.
Yes. Yep. She has a god dad.
Yeah.
In addition to her mortal parents.
Right.
And in this case, actually,
her mortal biological parents.
Yes. And I can't remember. Maybe that would be a spoiler for the first one. But there's a whole thing with her family that goes down. That's kind of part of this overarching arc throughout the 5 books, is her trying to come to terms with this like missing, because she grew up with her mom. Her dad's not in the picture. So a lot of the story is her coming to terms with, first of all, her identity as an Indian girl in the middle of like Atlanta, Georgia, I think is where they are. And she's kind of always been an outsider and a little quirky.
And if I remember correctly, the first one, she spends a lot of time sort of feeling abandoned by her mom, because her mom has spent her Aru's whole life like searching for magical artifacts, but not telling Aru that's what she's doing.
Yeah.
So she just goes on these work trips all the time.
And her mom's like totally in the know, like knows, I think she knows that she's a Pandava.
Yeah, I think so too.
And
she talks to her
just
friend's mom.
And is like holding a like super dangerous magical artifact, just hanging out in their museum, and never thinks to talk to Aru about this at all.
Yep.
And then like on a dare or something, Aru touches this magical artifact which activates the evil sleeper, and everything kind of goes to hell from there.
Right.
But
yeah, her mom was totally in the know and didn't say anything.
Yeah. And then the first one ends with them being like, now we're gonna have a discussion, we're gonna clear all this up, and then things will be better from now on. And like the whole second book, her mom just like totally runs away from that conversation again.
My God.
And Aru's like, are we ever gonna have a conversation now? And her mom just keeps deflecting and running away. So,
That's so sad.
I know. So she does that really well. Like it's very lighthearted, silly, goofy shenanigans. Like they're going from like one little adventure in Hindu mythology to another, and meeting all these characters, and she has this whole glossary in the back so you can refer to all these little stories. Yeah, so like fun thing, and then she has this like undercurrent of really like serious and like sad, like it's usually something to do with family, and I think all of her Pandava sisters have kind of similar bummer backstory. Like Minnie doesn't. I think Minnie comes from a pretty well-adjusted family compared to the rest of them. But she meets a second one, Bryn, in the second. Okay. And then now we finally met the last two, which are twins. And they also have like really sad parent stories. Like Bryn's mom just like fully like doesn't love her or like care. Like Bryn is like not her priority. Like fully. Like there was like some really sad anecdote somewhere in the middle of I think it was the third one, where something like they spilled like a boiling pot or something on the stove of something, and like her mom had like a split second to choose whether to protect Bryn or to protect like some like her purse or something. and like fully went for the purse or whatever, and Bran got like really horribly burned or something.
My
There's
God.
something really sad and awful like that. So yeah, so like that's kind of how these books are. They're like really happy and like goofy, and there's a talking pigeon, and then like something like awful will like they'll just remember something awful about their family situation, or and you're just like,
God,
geez.
That is
so
rough.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, I'm enjoying it. It's usually when it's something sad, it's something that like they're actively working past, and like having their sister, like it's always like I have my sisters with me, like we can like overcome this together now. So it's always like comes off with this like happy camaraderie.
That's good.
We can all win. And then the end of the third one ended on a terrible cliffhanger, so here we are again! What have I done to myself?
You have to expand your rule from trilogies to quintets.
I do, but I need to figure out which book is it safe, because I'm used to them like being self-contained when we get to series that long. Usually,
so you just need to read the fourth one like now.
You think the fourth one's gonna end? I'm not that dumb. I am not that dumb. I'm not gonna do that. But if anything, I'll probably wait longer to read the fourth one now, because I'm worried about how that's gonna. And there's this whole thing foreshadowed in the first one that Aru's gonna turn on all of her sisters.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So that foreshadowing's like hanging in the background, and she thinks about it like every few chapters because she's really haunted by this prospect that she's going to turn evil and join the Sleeper. And I'm like,
oh man, that's stressful.
Mm-hmm. So I enjoy this realm of Roshani Chokshi. I've read some of her other stuff. I've read The Gilded Wolves, which is really, compared to Six of Crows. Now that I've read Six of Crows, I'm like, if I'd read Six of Crows first, I probably would not have gotten very far in Gilded Wolves.
Really?
I probably would have been like, all I can think about is how much better Six of Crows is, but I did the other way. And I really liked Gilded Wolves up until how they executed the ending. Like, I really liked the characters. I love, like, Roshani Chokshi's, like, her imagination is insane. Her settings are beautiful. Everything is, like, really meticulously and gorgeously described. But the way, there was just, like, wasn't a really good emotional resolution in the first one, and it kind of, like, and I think Do
you think that was a function of it being a trilogy?
First, it could be. It's just like, it's one of those things where like they set up this whole, again, like they set up a heist, and you think like they're gonna hit some stumbling blocks like in the first, and then you think that like, but ultimately they'll be successful. And it wasn't, I think that they weren't successful, but like there were consequences.
Oh shit.
And those consequences were real bad, and like kind of I think ended up driving everyone deeper into the worst parts of themselves instead of like growing and trying to be better. So it's like so Gilded Wolves like kind of left with like a sour taste on it, and that's like one of those ones where if anyone ever finishes the whole trilogy and says
it's amazing,
go back and read it. But like, so that's that's either adult or young adult.
Yeah, it's young adult.
So I feel like, and I also read The Star-Touched Queen,
right,
which was also really good, but I didn't really start enjoying that until the Talking Dead horse showed up. that was when I was like, yep, this is now.
I'm here for it.
And so I think she's just really funny, and when she has the opportunity to lean into her humor, that's where she shines.
Yeah.
When she tries to be dark and serious only, I can't get engaged in this same way. Not sure why. And some of this I was telling you earlier might come down to whoever her editor is. I think that she deserves a better editor, because this comes up in like all her work where there will be little things that like the scene will shift in ways that like I can't like imagine how they got from point A to point B, or they'll go from A to B and then back to A again in like not a correct time frame. If that makes sense. Like in an action-packed battle, like they'll somehow manage to get a whole bunch done in this corner in a split second when something else is happening. I don't know. Yeah. And I was telling you that the end of this third one, the twins pull off this like little like quick little, let's change our clothes and they won't be able to tell us apart. And then it ends up like serving no actual purpose. Like the bad guys were never fooled for, like there was never even a question, like question of whether or not they were fooled. Like they just switched clothes, and then that thing that they did was never addressed again as being successful or unsuccessful in any way. So it was just like, so every once in a while little stuff like that will come up, and be distracting. And I kind of noticed that in all of her work. So I don't know. And I don't know. I feel like that'd just be a really easy thing to fix in editing. But no one has.
So, moral of the story, you need to be hired to fix it.
I do. My going rate is several $100s an hour. I'm just kidding. I've never stopped being a whale listener to do that. I love my job too much. So I think her middle grade, so the Aru Shah thing, is the best of the work that I've read of hers, in my opinion. I think I've rated them all 5 stars because they're all like fun romps and stuff.
Right.
It's just harder to talk about the fun stuff.
Right. That's really sad, the pot boiling story.
Oh my god. So it's like, jeez.
That's like rough.
There's this thread in the third one that's also, but I can't really talk about it because it gives it away. They're kind of following the steps of someone who came before, and they get these like memories dropped of this person who went before, and it's real sad.
Oh, great! That sounds like fun.
Basically, yeah. But I'm excited to see where that goes, especially after how the third one ended. Now I just have no idea where this is headed. No clue. Boy. Ooh, and there was a big betrayal in the third one too.
But like not by Aru.
No, like a mistake betrayal. Like someone really wanted something for themselves and didn't mean for it to hurt anyone else, and it.
Oh no!
It's a big yikes.
Oh.
But we had a clairvoyant. One of the twins is a clairvoyant. That's how the third one starts. So like this twin just starts spouting off like future prophecies over like whatever, and so they're all like running themselves in circles trying to fix the outcomes of some of these prophecies. And she's hilarious. She's just like, whatever, I'm just here. Now that I got that prophecy out, I sure feel a lot less nauseous.
Oh, great.
What's for lunch? So she's sweet. I mean, she's only like 10 or something. She and her sister are
delightful.
Twins. And they have a cute dynamic because one of the other twin is like very like overprotective, has very older sister vibes, and everyone's after the clairvoyant. So I think they see how that like kind of developed. So their dynamic is cute, and then Sheila's the clairvoyant. I just think it's funny whenever she spouts off a prophecy and everyone just loses their minds, and she's just like, okay.
That is really cute.
I think that's pretty much it for our recent reads. I guess I slipped in Fireheart Tiger by Aliette de Bodard. Snuck in there really quick. It's another novella. And
about colonialism.
Yeah. I'm glad, like, I mean, I was texting you during this, because she has, like, this old flame who shows up to, like,
old flame.
From the...
So she has an old flame as an ex-girlfriend, but she also has
a literal old flame. And a new... Sorry, this has...
Like a flame spirit? A fire spirit?
Yes, this joke had accidental multiple layers. So it starts out with her reflecting about this old fire, though. So she was sent away by her mom. This is another fraught mother-daughter relationship that doesn't really get resolved. But her mom sends her off when she's like, I don't know, 12, to go stay with the colonial powers that be. And she's there until I think she's 18, and then she gets sent back home.
Like a substantial portion of her life.
Like her very formative years. Yeah. And the idea was, I think the mom was thinking, oh, she'll get some insight on how our, like, they're allies,
They're
quote unquote.
Quote unquote, yeah.
But it's like allies pre-conquerors. Like, everyone sees the writing on the wall, and they're...
It's how England was an ally of India.
Right. Yeah. So it starts with her reflecting on this like huge fire that broke out like a few years into her stay with the colonial powers that be. I don't have it in front of me.
They forgot about her, right? Like she was gonna die.
Yeah, they fully, because she's from this bag. They call them. I think they call them a lot of problematic things like barbarians or.
Oh, great.
It's like stuff like that, like. clearly, like, looked down upon, slurs, the whole shebang. And, so yeah, fully forget about her. Everyone escapes from the palace.
Evacuates but her.
Mm-hmm. And she escapes with, when she's first reflecting on this, another servant girl from her country.
Right. Named
Huang.
I don't remember.
I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation, but, we'll just say Huang. And,
but then it turns out the maid is like a fire elemental?
Yes, a fire elemental,
okay.
Which is how the fire kind of started. Like, someone poked the thing that she was encased in, and that kind of, like, let her out, and she had been cooped up for however long, she just kind of lost control.
Trapped in a semi-hostile country.
Yes. But, like, they don't have that conversation until
right.
they actually meet again. Now that she's kind of back, she's trying to step into her role as, like, this third princess, so her mom doesn't really think much of her. She has 2 sisters that outshine her in different areas, so she's trying to, like, figure out, like, what she has to contribute to this whole situation, and her mom has set her up as negotiator for these, for this, like, negotiating these new terms, and...
with the colonial power.
But, like, keep talking her down, and, like, it's just not a great... And so she's bending with her mom on one hand, while she was in colonial, when she was in Britain, she after the fire, she caught the eye of the princess there, right. Who was like, ooh, an exotic, wink, seems like a challenge.
So gross.
And you don't, like, it's not, like, that obvious that's what the vibe is until, like...
till later in the story.
In the book.
Right.
But, like, even, like, from the get-go, the way they interacted was, like,
problematic.
So I remember texting you, and I was like, I hope this is supposed to be problematic, because if they are endgame, I have a problem. Because their relationship is very uncomfortably manipulative, and... so she's kind of beset on all sides. She's trying to figure out this thing with Yang, who shows up at some place, and is like, I actually want to introduce myself now at this very convenient time in your life. You have nothing else on your plate. But
before you make too many bad decisions.
Yep. But I'm a fire spirit, and the main character, whose name also completely escapes me right now, he wanted to call her Alina, but I don't know that doesn't sound right. It sounds like that's someone else.
Alina is from Shadow and Bone.
Thank you. I swear that's from Tan. Her name is Tan. So, and then, like, Tan's dealing with, like, this ex who's shown up and is like, let's be together. And then jumps from,
just give me your country.
Just give me your country. And then she's like, if you marry me, actually, then, like, we could be co-rulers. And then you won't have to give up your country at all, because we'll be ruling it together? I don't know, it was, like, clearly, like, shady colonizer logic going on here. And then there's the other negotiator who has her own agenda thing going on. And so there's, like, a lot to unpack there. And
there's a lot that happens in the space of a novella.
Yes. So that was, like, it gets set up with all this stuff, and you're like, everything's happening. And then, like, the resolution was very, like, end result. And we're done.
I don't even remember how it
and
ends.
That was, like, my main... That's the only reason I brought down, I think, my final rating was because... it was like a 5-star setup, and I fully approved of Gyeong just burning, almost burning things to the ground, like, but, like, the relationship develops over the course of, like, 3 very brief conversations, and then and then she doesn't really resolve things with her mom, but, like, kind of, like, I don't know, just, like, things got, like, very tidy bow, even though, like, the last paragraph was very, like, at least for this day, we can breathe, and we'll still have stuff to deal with tomorrow, but, like, we're at a breathing point now. So, like, the implication there is that, like, we still have stuff to deal with. We didn't resolve everything. It was just, like, I don't know, it felt, like, very... For all of that setup to have everything kind of solved by an suddenly exploding fire spirit felt, like, very... So I wanted more of the... fire spirit stuff. I want to know more about, like, where she came from, and, like, does she have any... Are there other elementals? Does she have to... What does she want?
That sounds like a whole
other novel. Does she have any family? Is she really just happy burning anything nearby as long as she can hang out with Tan for forever? I don't...
Yes.
Well, so that's Fireheart Target. I just like wanted more out of that than I think. And they said it was the blurb for it is like Howl's Moving Castle meets Goblin Emperor, and I love those two things.
So you had really high expectations.
I mean, it was a novella, so I was like, how much can they really get into? Yeah. It was almost like they had the setup of a full novel and then the resolution of a novella, I guess. I don't know. You'd be better at picking that apart than...
So what you were saying is you just want more.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I do. Especially if Galen, he was the best and got like the least screen time. We got way too much of the crappy X.
Yeah. Less crappy X.
So that was my other very recent. I've read that this week. So we kind of already talked about what we're gonna read or try to read in the upcoming. Like I'm in the middle of Burning Roses, and I'll either tackle Shadow of the Fox or Carry On if it's still before my next vacation to Hawaii.
Have 2 weeks.
I have 3
weeks.
I think I have 3 weeks. I also I need to read Body Minds Reimagined, Disability, Race, and Gender in Black Women's Speculative Fiction, because that is on the Sirens, the last book I have.
Seriously?
On the Sirens Reading Challenge.
Don't read it too fast. I'll try to catch up.
Well, I mean, you're way ahead on the Mysterious Galaxy Bingo, which yields higher rewards.
Yes,
so
it does.
Who's really winning here? And then I have holds at the library for Never Have I Ever by Isabel Yap, which you recommended earlier today. Just a collection of short stories.
Yep. And some of them, like the first couple, are very rooted in Philippine myth.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, one of them is, like, I can't remember, Mananganal, I think it's called. It's like a Filipino vampire.
Okay.
And so every night they detach their torso from their legs and go flying through wherever they are, and they eat fetal.
Weirdly, this does sound very familiar, and I'm a little worried that it sounds as familiar.
Well, it's another vampire myth, so like...
So maybe it's just come up before?
Probably.
Okay.
Anyway,
we'll go with that.
They drink unborn babies.
Bummer. Yeah. It's a niche.
I hope you're proud of yourself.
I have some regrets.
So that's like the first story. There's another story about like magical girls, except like very realistic in our world of magical girls. And then there's another really adorable one with mist elementals and SF. Yay. Which you'll love. Yay. I read that one twice. It was really nice. So I haven't finished it yet, but it is really good.
Okay. And then I also have a holdout for our son Lupit. I don't remember how. Yeah, thank you. Not taken friend. I did watch that entire, so it's also a show on Netflix, which is why I now have...
It's a really good show from what I've seen.
More heists.
More heists, yeah.
More heists.
Really complicated heists.
Like 8 episodes of heists. And vengeance. Which ticks off a lot of my boxes.
Isn't that like Count of Monte Cristo?
Kind of, yeah.
Heists and vengeance?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's also, yep. I have some, yep.
Okay.
My niches. And so yeah, and then Mysterious Galaxy Bingo has a thing for a translated book, so that's going to be...
That's a good choice.
If it ever comes, because I think I've been 16 on the holds list for a very long time now.
You just have to buy it.
Oh no.
God, not that. So what am I going to read? I still have to finish the Book of the Unnamed Midwife and One Last Stop and The Girl of Fire and Thorns.
Do you have to finish the Book of the Unnamed?
Oh, well.
Agree to disagree.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
We'll see.
Jinx. And so after that, to finish off the Mysterious Galaxy Bingo, I'm also reading The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner, which is sort of like a dual timeline. I don't know about the contemporary stuff, but the historical part of it is this woman who gives poisons to other women to off their like domestic abusers.
Yes, I think I did read the premise of this one.
I'm excited about that
one.
And then what else am I reading? Burnout
More Sirens books.
More Sirens. A lot of nonfiction, too. Burnout by Amelia and Emily Nagoski.
No. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
And then Whipping Girl by Julia Serrano.
Yeah.
And
I guess maybe we should explain when we say Sirens, we mean...
the Sirens Conference that is for, by, and about women in fantasy that occurs at the last weekend of every October.
I love watching her do the spiel because she really has it down.
I totally have it down. Because the first year or two, I was like, it's just awesome! Fantasy and women and female characters, but also women in real life, but also not. And then it's just really cool.
And I've been once before the pandemic happened, and it was incredibly awesome. So yeah, and then every year at the conference on the last day they release a reading list for the following year and that year's theme. So this is for they had a virtual con at the end of 2020 and had a reading list that was just meant to be like it was a slightly different. It didn't have like a theme so much as a...
It's still the same theme, which is villains, but usually their reading lists, they give you probably 40 or 50 different options, titles in various categories like adult, YA, middle grade, and then they have the ones by the guests of honor. But this year, because it's sort of a repeat of the theme, they're just doing 25 straight books that everyone should be reading, and then they have alternates you can choose from if you've already read titles from the required, quote-unquote, required reading. So that's, between that and the Mysterious Galaxy Bingo, where you get entered to win a raffle for $100, I'm excited. I want $100.
I also would like $100.
Just for books.
Just for bucks.
So those are my 2 reading challenges this year.
Cool.
I don't really know what I'm going to do after...
What will I do when my reading list is no longer determined by a reading challenge?
I will probably...
It's not like I have 1,000 to choose from. How will I choose?
I'll pick the ones that are most in the way.
Well, I'll just read yours first. Which I'll never, since you read faster than I do, will probably never, ever go away.
Well, I don't have to bring you stuff like A Dowry of Blood if you don't want.
That's true. That's probably not. At least not anytime soon. Domestic abuse is one of those things that's like...
if I had realized going in what it was, I might not have chosen to read it.
Right.
But it was just so good.
I do love, getting murdered up because of the domestic abuse, but...
There's an excellent murder scene at the end.
I do like a good murder scene. But I don't know that I have
where
the
it takes
spoons
all 3 of them to defeat him. And...
It does help that it's short, I guess. But yeah, I'll pin that one.
Okay.
Boop. So yeah, so that's us. That's our upcoming reads. It's all the stuff we've read recently. So this is Infinite TBR. Hoping that we can come up with a better sign-off sometime soon.
Fingers crossed.